r/AskReddit. MILFs of Reddit. What were some of the most desperate advances you've had to deal with from your son's friends? I never get any advances from my son's friends. That's why I have to post on porn sites that I'm in your area and ready to duck now. Damn, I knew those ads were real. I don't consider myself to be a MILF, but I have had my son's friends try and make moves on me before. I'm younger, had my first kid in my early 20s, and am exotic Colombian immigrant in a small southern town. I think those play more of a role than my actual looks. Just something different than what the teen boys here are used to. The weirdest one was when my boys had a couple of friends over to watch a movie a couple of years ago. I believe they were 14 and 12 at the time. I was watching the movie with them, and one of the boys, 14 years old, put his arm around me. I didn't want to make a big deal about it and embarrass him or anything, so I tried to subtly get out of the situation. I yawned and I told the group that I was going up to bed, and he stood up and started following me. I asked what he was doing, and he said he thought I wanted him to come up to bed with me. I explained that I was sorry for the confusion, but that I absolutely did not want him to come up to bed with me. He apologized and returned back to the media room to watch the movie with the rest of the boys. My oldest is a senior in high school now and has been asked by his friends if they can take me to prom if they can't find another date. He put his arm around you, and you yawned and said, "Boy, am I tired. I should go to the bedroom," to a 14-year-old boy. He's probably still confused to this day, ha 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 ha. He's 40 now and never had a girl. That woman at the party last night said she wanted me to duck her so hard, but I'm not good at reading women. I wouldn't say I'm a MILF, but two of my daughter's friends have hit on me, and her boyfriend of 3 years tried to kiss me. The most desperate was the boyfriend. We had gone on vacation for my daughter's 21st birthday to a small town with hot springs. While my daughter, her boyfriend and her friends camped nearby, I chose to stay in a hotel to give the young people their privacy. We all went together for a soak one evening, but my daughter wasn't feeling well and stayed at the campground. After the soak, the boyfriend was quite drunk, so I gave him a ride back to the campsite. When we arrived, he started professing his undying love for me, said my name 3 times in his most serious attempt at a sexy voice, and leaned in for a kiss. He never saw my fist, but felt it land squarely in his sternum. It made for an awkward morning. He confessed to my daughter the next day and she laughed hysterically at his ridiculousness. They broke up not long after, but two of my daughter's friends have hit on me, and her boyfriend of 3 years tried to kiss me. I think that's the definition of a MILF. Pretty sure a lot of people feel uncomfortable labeling themselves MILFs, which is fair enough. Every moderately attractive high school teacher has been hit on. Currently, a senior that graduated last year is patiently waiting to turn 21, so he and I can go have a rear. I'm sure in his mind this will lead to a weekend of Wild X where I show him the hidden secrets of the Kama Sutra. I'm just interested to see if anything will have changed by then. Also, one of my son's friends once told me he'd like to experience an older woman and then stared at me. Probably expected some porn plot scenario to follow. When I was in my junior year of high school, I decided to spend Christmas Eve with my girlfriend and her family at their grandmother's farmhouse. Their grandmother was a short, frail, bohemian woman who dressed like Steve Jobs and always smelled like dust and Cabernet. Her silver hair was wispy and long, and she kind of reminded me of a thin Gandalf. Right off the bat she was flirtatious with me, squeezing my arms and telling my girlfriend how your last boyfriend was such a stick. Upgrade. And although it was awkward, I of course didn't feel physically intimidated until it happened. After dinner, I decided to help by doing the dishes in the kitchen while others were lounging in the front room. As I'm washing, I feel a pair of hands creep around my stomach from behind. Thinking they were my girlfriends, I laughed and said, "Hey you." I was met with the single most guttural hello I'd ever heard. I mean, it was as though the woman had drowned her vocal cords in Zinfandel and Camel Reds. I looked down and saw the spotted, wrinkly hands and was frozen in shock. Having not said anything, she probably assumed she had the okay and proceeded to move her hand down to my butt. To which I said please never do that again and left the kitchen. I went to the front room and excused myself for the night and drove home. I never felt physical intimidation from her, but the whole situation was so off-putting. Being that I was 16 years old and she was somewhere around 73. She also gave me intense, lengthy lectures on the proper way to take my then girlfriend's virginity. Not graphic, just weird. Midway through the story I had to hold my breath. Can't imagine the shock. Midway through the story I expected the Undertaker to throw mankind off the top of the cage in a Hell in a Cell match. Glad it didn't end that way though. I have 2 teenage daughters and have had several of their guy friends hit on me. We moved to a new town a few years ago and both my girls are quite pretty, so they had a lot of new guy friends that would come over and hang out. I would talk with them in the group and kinda hang around and listen to what was going on. Some of the ones who looked older would say things just to see if they could get away with it. I can't recall most of the things that were said, but 2 stand out to me. The first one happened when my daughter came in with a group of friends and asked me to give several a ride home. I told her I just needed to hurry and change out of my gym clothes and I'd be right down. Next thing I know there's a knock at my bedroom door and I ask who it is. My daughter wouldn't knock. From the other side of the door I hear a boy ask if I needed any help changing. I told him to get his ass out of my house. The second one happened at a party my other daughter threw at our house. One of the boys came up and put his arm around me and asked to see my tits. I was so shocked I couldn't think of anything to say other than duck off. Then I told him to leave. The next day he called my daughter and asked her to ask me if he would ever have a chance. Seriously. It finally got to the point that she asked me not to come around when her guy friends were over and not to talk to them when I see them at the school because she was sick of hearing things about me from the guys. I had to start just being a rich after that because obviously me being nice was taken as something other than what I'd intended and I didn't want to embarrass my daughters anymore. Edit. I'm sure there are plenty of grammatical errors that I don't really have time to fix at the moment. This is my first time posting and I'm not sure how this'll works and I'm on my phone so hopefully format is okay at least. I had no idea anyone would actually read this. I apologize I haven't responded to anyone. Been backpacking and just got reception again this morning. Edit 2. For those of you saying that it's somehow the fault of my daughters for choosing friends like this. Really? It amazes me how you somehow manage to find a way to blame the girls for the boys' behavior. And we wonder why boys would believe it is acceptable to behave this way. Also it's not like my daughters thought any of this was okay or even expected something like this to happen. The boys in these situations were completely shamed by my girls and all of their friends. None of them would want to hang out with a guy like this. The sad part is the bro culture is what causes things to become such a big deal. It was other teen boys saying stupid things like whoa bro, you hit on her mom. Nice job. And so did she let you see them? Then they've got to make themselves look like a big shot and they make up stories to cover for the fact that they were totally rejected. That starts rumors and then other boys think it's okay to try things. Nice job in turning it on the choices of my girls though. I had to start just being a rich after that because obviously me being nice was taken as something other than what I'd intended. Hello life. Is it me? Or does it seem like a vast majority of straight men see a woman being friendly as a sign that they're down to duck? I can't count how many times I've heard my female friends say they can't be friendly without inviting the men to hit on them. When my brother graduated from high school, he had a big party at our house. My mom would walk around periodically to make sure things weren't getting too ridiculous. At one point, this kid very openly hit on my mom and told her she was hotter than any girl there. Obviously my mom noped out of that mess and was thoroughly creeped out. Perfect way to have the rest of the party without adult supervision. Or duck your friend's mom. I'm not sure that this qualifies. But, here goes. When I was 45, I guess I hit my peak. We went to the pool in Vegas. Men kept hitting on me. One time I went to the bathroom, which was about 200 feet away from the pool, behind a row of trimmed hedges. 7 men in their 20s or so hit on me during the short trip to and from the bathroom. One young man was pretty insistent. He said that his hotel room was right there on the property. We could be back in 7 minutes before my husband even noticed that I was gone. I started laughing so uproariously. I wasn't going to go, no matter the offer, but come on. If you are going to try to seduce me, you could do better than that. I said no thank you. If I was going to fool around, he would have to do better than that. It would take us 3 minutes to get up to his room. I would certainly hope for more than a minute of pleasure. One young man was pretty insistent. He said that his hotel room was right there on the property. We could be back in 7 minutes before my husband even noticed that I was gone. Holy fuck, what was he thinking? That's goddamn hilarious. He's self-aware and knows not to oversell himself. I'm not a MILF or even a female, but I have a good story for this one. When I was in the 8th grade, I was hornier than Wilt Chamberlain. We had a family living in our basement at the time in Vancouver, Canada. It's common for every house to have a basement suite that they rent out. And the son was my age and we became friends. His mom was average looking. But at that time, average looking was beautiful in my horny little eyes. The family had a weird dynamic. The husband spent more than half a year back home in Iran every year and left the mom and son here by themselves here. So one day, the convo comes up between the son and I about how lonely his mom is all the time and how bad he feels for her. This translated into my mind as him telling me that I should be with his mom. Most of you probably remember that time period in your life and how desperate you were for the boobs. So please don't judge me too harshly. Anyways, I was pretty shy, so of course any direct conversation with the mom was out of the question. So I decided to write her a note. In the note, I basically said that I knew she was lonely and that I was lonely too. I told her that maybe her and I should be together and that girls didn't like me at school. Then I said that it doesn't even need to go too far. Maybe she could just teach me how to kiss and whatnot. I knew when her son wasn't going to be home and I slid that note under the connecting basement suite door. Knocked once, ran and hid around a corner and waited. I honestly didn't know what I expected, but damn it if I wasn't excited at the possibility of being with her. A minute or two later, I can still hear it as clearly as when it happened. I hear her scream, "Oh my god." I figured the plan had failed and I aborted and ran the duck away. A couple of days later she saw me in the backyard and told me to come inside. Stupid ducking me thought that the plan had worked after all. And I walked into her basement suite. Boner and all. She told me how inappropriate the letter was. And she wasn't sure if she should get my parents involved. If blah blah blah. You can probably guess the conversation. She never told anyone about it, which I thought was very nice of her. And her and I had no other bad run-ins. Except this one other time. That was my first MILF experience. Wow. The balls your 8th grade self had. I'm sure they were very big. And very blue.